Hello, everyone. Welcome to what used to be the 21 Hats podcast and is now the Business Advantage TV podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. In this week's conversation, we talk about pursuing diversity in hiring and in marketing. Dana White tells us about the challenge of getting white customers to come to a hair salon where most of the clientele is African American. Karen Clark-Cole tells us about the challenge of persuading black job candidates to join a company that does not have a lot of black employees. The question is not, are they out there, Karen says. They're out there. I guarantee they're out there. This conversation, which we recorded in January, was timely when we had it, before the world turned upside down, and I believe it's even more timely today in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder and the protests that followed. Much has changed, of course, in the several lifetimes that have passed since January. For example, you'll hear the owners talk about how tight the labor market is, which sounds a tad quaint now. Today, in the middle of a full-blown crisis, I fully understand that some of you listening are in no position to hire. But some of you surely are, and this may be a great opportunity to do the work and find the diversity your business has lacked. The other time warp aspect of this podcast is our discussion of Karen's return from sabbatical. Some of you may recall that after a stressful 2019, she took a few months away from the business to clear her mind. We recorded this in late January, just before her return, and in this session, she talks about what she planned to do differently this time. It remains an interesting discussion of the CEO's role. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will, if nothing else, let owners know they are not alone in facing these challenges. This week's lineup features Karen Clark-Cole, who is CEO of Blink, a user experience research and design firm in Seattle, Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a hair salon in Detroit, and Jay Goltz, whose businesses in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. The episode is titled, Hair is Segregated. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to talk about diversity today, certainly in hiring, but also in marketing. What can businesses do to target specific groups of customers? But let's start with the hiring part of it, which tends to get the most attention, and especially in the tech world. Karen, let's start with you. You're a woman. I'm guessing you've given some thought to what it takes to reach beyond the usual group of coding bros. Remind us, how many employees do you have, and how diverse a group have you managed to hire?
We're about 130, and in terms of men and women, we're pretty equal split in the company and always have been. But where we are really behind is in racial diversity. And that's something that we're working on actively, and certainly having different offices helps. Being just in Seattle can make part of that harder, but we have a really nice mix of Latinos and Latinas in San Diego that we're really working hard to bring in, and San Francisco is certainly a better melting pot than Seattle, I think.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then we've got the East Coast, which helps as well.
The fact that you're evenly split between men and women is impressive. That's got to be fairly unusual among your competitors, I would guess. Am I right about that?
No, I don't think so. If you think about us as a design company, if you were thinking of us as a development company, then yes, that might be the case. But we have a pretty equal split of designers and researchers, and those researchers are psychologists largely, or people who are inclined in that direction. So it's kind of a different demographic than a typical tech firm. We also have some developers, and in fact, actually, most of our developers are women. They're a small group.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy behind getting girls and women into coding, certainly in the Seattle area. So I think there's a lot of progress that's been made there. For us, our biggest challenge actually is, though, having women in really high-level roles in the company. So we have a lot of women across, in the sort of base of the company, but when you get up to the senior leadership, there's fewer and fewer. And we are, and that just happened organically. So now we're really paying close attention. We're keeping positions open for longer. So the question is not, are they out there? They're out there. I guarantee they're out there. The question is, do we need to spend more time, more energy, and be willing to be patient till we find a good pool of candidates, and then we start looking at who's the best person for the job. So what was happening before is that we'd find a great candidate, send them right through the process and hire them, and not really wait till we had a really diverse pool of candidates. And that for us has been the biggest change, is really being patient to make sure that at least in our candidates, we are diverse, both ethnically as well as gender-based. So that's helped.
I want to come back to that, especially what specifically you've tried to make your pool of candidates more diverse. What's worked, what hasn't. But first, let's go around the room. Dana, you've told us your hair salons specialize in serving women with thick and curly hair. I believe you've told us that your customers are predominantly, but not exclusively, African American. First, remind us, how many employees do you have? I guess both full-time and contracting. I believe that your stylists are contractors. How diverse is your group?
So I only have one contractor. She's my operations manager, but the rest of my staff are all employees, and they're more diverse along gender lines than they are ethnic lines. The reality of my business, especially here in Michigan, is that hair is segregated, and it's really, really glaring, because you have, the guests who do come to me have said, I don't want, other people to know that I have to come to a Black salon to get my hair done because it's so thick. But it's just kind of how society is structured, where Black women will go to a predominantly white salon to get their hair done if there is a talented stylist that they feel confident can do their hair. People who are not Black will not come to a predominantly Black salon to get their hair done. So we find that at Paralee Boyd, most of the diversity comes in with gender. We have two gentlemen that work with us, but it's mainly a woman-dominated field.
That's a really interesting challenge for you.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you got the idea to start this chain of hair salons in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
Was the environment very different there? Was it less segregated?
Yes, it was. So, and then I love that. It wasn't, like growing up in Kalamazoo, where I'm from, it's very Black or white. In New York, it's very everybody. And so, it was nothing for you to walk into a salon and sit next to somebody with red hair, someone with blonde hair. There was a lot more freedom and integration in the hair world. I've had Asian ladies cut my hair. I've had Argentinian men cut my hair. It's just a matter of the skill and them doing a good job. But I did notice that the convenience for women with thick and curly hair wasn't as readily available in other parts of the country as it was in New York, the hair freedom. And so I opened Paralee Boyd to kind of start to get that out, to get, women with thick and curly hair. They shouldn't be charged more. They shouldn't have to wait longer. There are processes that you can do to make it more efficient in hair freedom, I guess.
Dana, you said hair freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great term.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
In Michigan, do you consider the segregated aspect of your customer base to be something that you can and want to address, or is that just the way it is?
Nope, it's something I can and will address. But again, when you're talking in the workforce, people have to come into a space that the employees reflect them. The environment reflects them. So I think, the salons are beautiful. And so, okay, they look good. However, I just don't see people who are not Black in mass. We have a few, but there are some who are comfortable. But I don't think in mass they're going to feel comfortable being the only one in the room. We've had white stylists, and my, Black female clients don't want to go to her because the assumption is she doesn't know how to do my hair, even though that's not the case. And it takes that stylist a lot longer to show that she knows how to style that texture or curlier texture of hair. So it's just doing the marketing. And I'm working with someone now to say, how do we market to a diverse group? And it is a separate marketing campaign. And then we have to give it time to have that reflected in our salons when they come in.
Have you had a white stylist who was successful in getting a established in your shop?
We have, but again, it was really hard for her. Even and part of the reason that she left was because there just never seemed to be confidence. There were guests who would see her and think that it was no longer Black owned and would leave, and we'd have to go out to the parking lot. No, it's still Black owned. Even when my first operations coordinator, she was white, and she walked in, and they would automatically assume that she was my boss. So it's something that it has to be worked at over time, because this is a lot of generational and societal things that have to be assumptions that have to be worked on in order to grow.
You're dealing with a lot there.
I know. Like, hey. Hey.
Let me ask, I have a question, Dana. Lauren made a good point. You're dealing with a lot, but you sound energized by it. Do you find that, and we talked before about being an underdog, do you think this is a challenge that you're excited to solve, or is it does it wear you down?
It can be frustrating, because I see the bigger picture, and my mission isn't to solve. My mission is just to make it easier for the business to grow. So I'm energized because I think I have a plan to grow Paralee Boyd, being inclusive and also respecting the differences in our hair texture. So there are businesses in the UK that says, oh, we're for everybody, but your hair products only reflect one person. You know, a lot of salons say, oh, we're for everybody, but then you have to call in a certain stylist to do her hair. No, you're not for everybody. You don't even have the products that are conducive to a redhead's hair. Right. So that's what I'm energized, because I have a plan for Paralee Boyd, not a plan to solve for the segregation in mass. Right.
Okay. Maybe that's next.
Come on, Dana, be ambitious.
Yeah. I'll get to it. But today it's Paralee Boyd.
Fair enough.
Well, at least you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Jay, how about you? Remind us how many employees you have and how diverse a group do you have?
There's 115 employees, and I've never really counted, but it's probably about 50-50 male to female. And I have kind of an unusual situation in that I've got everything from people with art degrees working in the front counter, designing framing, to people with interior design backgrounds working in the home store, to factory workers who are cutting frames and putting them together in the back. And I have a lot of everything here. I'd say it's very diverse. But as far as educational background, the people that have art degrees usually are not minorities, just by the way it is out there.
Is this had an impact on how you look at who you hire, or I know the labor market has been tight for a while. Are you just trying to find people who are willing to and can do the job?
That's always been the case. And I would say, Karen used one word. She said patient. I would add another word to that, because, I do a lot of speeches on hiring and firing. I would use the word disciplined, that this concept of, get 10 people and hire the best one. Well, if the best one's not good enough, that's not a good plan. You have to stay disciplined at waiting until you find the right person. And I can't say this enough, every opportunity I have, I try to get this out there. The biggest problem with businesses with bad hiring is they don't check references. I can't tell you how many people I talk to. Here, in my case, I've been in business for 41 years. I've been through, 500 employees, 600 employees. I've gotten 3 reference calls in 41 years. Generally, people don't call references, and they rationalize it, and calling references is a good thing. So we have a very disciplined hiring approach. We write a really good ad that tells people why they should come here. We get a big pool of candidates in. We interview them thoroughly a lot, and then we check references. And I can't.
think, Jay, you're absolutely right. And it does require patience, because it's everyone, go, go, go. But yeah, it's discipline and patience for sure.
Yeah. So the answer is we wait until the right person shows up, and it's turned out to be, I'm in Chicago, so it's turned out to have, good diversity, but I can't say that I've gone out in particular trying to hire a particular kind of person.
Have you thought at all about, in a time when it is tough to find good candidates, reaching out to people who might not otherwise have thought to apply for one of your jobs?
It has absolutely gotten much more difficult lately. And I will tell you that for a $14 an hour job, cutting frames or something, the candidate pool has gotten much smaller. And we have tried to do the socially responsible thing of hiring. We hired like 6 people. Four of them came from some kind of halfway house through a program, and another couple they were in prison for nonviolent crimes. And, we're trying to give people opportunities, and in some cases the second chance, and to increase the pool of candidates out there.
Has that worked for you thus far?
No. In one word, out of the 6, after 6 months, there are 0 left, and it's extremely frustrating. And I will try again. I'm not making a generalization, but in my little test tube sampling here, they all conked out. It starts out with doesn't show up on Monday, and then doesn't show up on Monday and Tuesday, and then just doesn't show up again.
I don't know if you saw it, but we just ran an item in the morning report about a manufacturing business where 80% of the employees have a criminal background, and they specialize in hiring from that pool. And they've had real success doing it, in part because they learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And I think they wound up hiring a social worker who's a full-time employee to help with the transition, which clearly indicates how hard it is.
They pulled it off, but it wasn't just good intentions. They hired a social worker, and they had to really dig in and work on it, because from my little sampling, it's just not as easy as having good intentions and hiring some people and fearing, oh, well, they're getting a second chance and I'm sure they'll work out.
Karen, let's go back to you. What have you tried in terms of reaching out to different communities? You said that that's where you want to put more emphasis going forward.
Sure. In Seattle, what we were finding is, how do we attract Black people when we don't have a whole lot in the company? And so we started talking to local folks who were willing to help us. And the feedback we got is, well, no one wants to be the first and only. And so, but they're not going to come, and they're not going to, you have no chance if you don't have trust and you don't have a relationship already. And so our HR team started working really hard on, going to different community events where we could have, a really diverse group of people, and just started being out there and building relationships and having them know who we are long before we're hiring. And that made a difference. And same with the Latino population in San Diego, same thing. And, luckily we have some great employees who are real advocates and understand that we're trying to get there, and they're helping us. So it's, it's like everything, it's relationships and it's trust. So that's, to me, that's kind of like, okay, good. We know how to do that. And it's a lot of work. And, it's like what Jay's saying, it's discipline and patience to make sure that we're out there and we're thinking about it a lot, because it's easy to forget about it and just keep moving. We're going quickly. We're growing fast. But I tell you, when we do it, it is so much better. Just get the diversity of opinions and ideas. And it's just such a better place when we do it.
I was surprised with what you said about the difference between Seattle and San Francisco, that it's a little bit easier in San Francisco.
Well, I don't know about that for sure. I mean, it's a bigger city. There's more people there, certainly in terms of our kind of work. So I think that helps.
But the market is tight everywhere, especially for the type of people that you're trying to hire.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole separate problem, right?
Has it gotten a lot harder in recent years to find?
No, I don't think so, actually. I would say it's the opposite, because for us in particular, there's more people who are trained in the kind of work that we do. Like the colleges now are spitting them out by the thousands, whereas when we first started Blink, there was nobody. There was not one single program that produced a candidate that was trained for us. And now we work with the colleges, we're in there teaching, and there are thousands of them. So there's just way more people in the market. And, being, the flip side of being in the tech hub of Seattle is, the Amazons and the Microsofts and the Facebooks and the Googles and the Starbucks, they all bring these people to the city. And then when they spit them out because they're so burned out, then we get an opportunity to get them. So there's so many people here. I think it's easier. I mean, it's still hard. There's no question, but there are more people around for sure.
Part of this is marketing in that there are people that would be great at your job that don't even know that kind of job exists. And you have to think about where are you putting your ads, and because most people don't wake up and go, oh, I think I'll go to work on a picture framing factory. They don't even know there is such a thing. So you have to figure out where to get the ads and where to reach out to people that all they know is to go to work at McDonald's or something. I mean, because.
And Jay, do you target colleges, like going to the art schools and letting them know these are jobs you can get?
I don't, that part's easy. I know I don't need to, because we just want to, this is a great job for someone that's got an art degree. So we have no problem attracting those people. It's working in the factory that's becoming the problem. We went to agencies that are looking to place people in the factories. So it is partially about marketing, and it's partially about people don't think much about the ad they stick out there. And the ad makes a huge, I was at a picture framing convention one time, and lady goes, Jay, I'm having a hard time finding people. I go, what's your ad say? She goes, junior framer want. I go, well, there's your problem. Who wants to be a junior framer? Just say a framer wanted. You don't have to put junior in front of it. Right. It was just a repellent,
I totally agree.
Just one little word could make a huge difference in a lot of people don't want to work for the big corporation. Putting in your ad, work directly with the owner to blah, blah. Wow, that's very appealing to a lot of people. So, and that's why people leave some of these big corporations. They want to work where here's a phrase, they want to make a difference. That's a huge thing for a lot of people. So you put in your ad, work somewhere you can make a difference. All of your input is valued and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you get you get more candidates and better candidates.
Dana, the way you described your situation, it sounds like your challenge is less about finding diversity in your hiring and more about diversity in your marketing, who you bring in. I think that's, ultimately where your challenge lies. Have you thought much about how you can handle that kind of marketing that keeps your salon safe for your existing clientele, but attracts other people who may not have thought about it in the past?
Yes, and I have, and I think it is the marketing, not only to the customers, but again, it is the marketing to future employees of Paralee Boyd, because again, in me not trying to solve for segregation as a whole, I think it's going to be people coming into Paralee Boyd once we market to them and seeing a reflection of themselves to feel comfortable. There is a young man here in Detroit who said, everybody shops at Target. Black people, white people, everybody shops at Target. Black people go to Target. White people don't go to Shrine of the Black Madonna. And Shrine of the Black Madonna is a small Target-like shop in Detroit, right? That Black people go to if they need odds and ends, or at least they used to. I don't think it's open anymore, but that's the example. And I think in solving for that, as far as hair care, it's a matter of me not only marketing to a new market, but making sure that when I do market, that when they come in, there is some reflection of themselves. I've talked to other African-American business owners, and a lot of the times they hire a white person to be at that front desk. So then when they do get diverse clientele, Black people aren't going to be like, oh my God, there's a white receptionist, I'm leaving. No, we see white receptionists practically everywhere we go. But white women, they walk into a room, not white women, but white people, they walk to a room full of Black people all the time. They're going to look for someone that reflects them. And I don't even think that's just exclusive to white or Black. I think in any community,
it's human nature.
Yeah, human nature. I think they look for them. So if we're going to market to get, more of a diverse clientele, more diverse guests, then we need to have that reflected in the salon as well.
Have you thought about reaching out to specific groups?
Yes, we already have. We've already started.
Interesting. I'm
committed to thick and curly hair, right? And so there are other groups with thick and curly hair, and I've started looking at a sample size of the women that come to us already, right? So we have women who are Indian and redheads, and then because we're open on Sunday and Monday, we have women who are Jewish with thick and curly hair that come to the salon. So we understand that unfortunately the people who are not African American, they want this to be a secret. We had a film crew in the salon and they were ducking the camera. Would you mind if we put you on camera? Yes, I would. And we eventually asked one person, God, it seems to be an issue. What is it? And she said, I don't want people to know that I have to come here to get my hair done. Wow. So, not offended. Thanks for your money. See you next week. It's like, hey, I mean, it's a business, right? We're not friends. Taking that information and making it work for us, marketing to those groups as Paralee Boyd being your best kept secret. That's the marketing angle we're going to start with. And even though it's not a secret, people are going to see you go in there. You may not tell everybody. It could be something that you're just not telling people, but it's your best kept secret. So, okay, that's what we'll do. Make it work for you.
What an interesting challenge. Jay or Karen, obviously it's not as crucial to your businesses, but have either of you had any success in your marketing, trying to reach out to groups that you haven't previously served?
I haven't.
It's been going to the actual, physically to the community events rather than posting ads. So that does matter. It does pay off. It's good. It takes a lot of people hours to do that.
On a little different subject, I will tell you, though, having a diverse workforce, like in my factory, there are some things that you don't think about. You think everyone's the same. And like, for instance, we used to give turkeys out for Thanksgiving. A lot of people don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving. A lot of Hispanics do not eat turkey. I didn't know that. Different ethnic groups, do things differently. And so now I give out a gift certificate for either a ham or a turkey. So
what about tofurkey?
I have some of those. I have some vegetarians. My salespeople, the artsy people, one of them cut me off on the way to work one day, and I said, that was pretty aggressive driving for a vegetarian.
Oh, funny.
But no one showed up here with a tofu turkey yet, though. Probably just a matter of time.
Moving on now. Let me start with you, Karen. Tell us about the sabbatical ending.
Well, I have some trepidation. There's things that I'm trying to be really mindful of listening to what are my fears, what am I excited about, what am I dreading, and then make sure that I'm setting myself up for success when I go back. And it's kind of nice because from having had some distance, those things are really clear, whereas before they wouldn't have been. And I'm excited just to go back and see everybody and hear how things are going. And, I've been watching on the sidelines, but there's a lot of great stuff that's been happening. And it's pretty exciting that I can go away and everything is ticking along just nicely. So
did that make you want to stay away a little longer, or?
It makes me know that I can, but there's lots of things that I can get going and make a difference on. So I'm trying to do things differently than when I left. And that's a challenge for sure, to sort of not fall back into the same routine of, 20 years is a long time. I'm pretty hardwired to go in and do certain things.
What do you want to do differently when you go back?
Well, going to, a lot of various meetings, at just sort of check-in meetings at different levels in the company. My chief operating officer can handle all of those meetings, including like the finance meeting, the weekly GM meeting for all of our offices. Those are ones that I typically go to, and largely because I'm interested and I want to know how things are going. But instead, I'm going to try to channel that through him, and so that he can, take in all the raw data and put it into more of a strategic view that him and I need to work on together in terms of where the company needs to shift or go. So whereas I'm used to sort of getting the raw data and then having to take it and turn it into, turn it into the information that we need so that we can make decisions about the company. So I'm going to let him continue to do all that. He's been doing it while I'm gone. So, but it's, already I was looking at my calendar earlier today and I've got all these meetings from before still on my calendar. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to go to that.
I have to ask you a question. Do you think there's any people there that are just wishing you weren't coming back?
Oh, Jay.
Wow. You take 3 months, you take months off, you take a long time off.
Yeah.
There's people that got more room while you're gone. They're getting to do more. And I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I am sure there are people like exactly what you just said. They got more room. They got to, take the bull by the horns. And so I'm sure there are people who are worried that, it's going to be back to, Karen's involved in everything. And so, yes, I'm sure there are people who are nervous, although I don't think that many, truthfully. I hope not anyway, but.
Have you thought about addressing those concerns directly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. For me, the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, I'm not coming to this meeting anymore, and here's why. And I think, I hope people will feel empowered by that and see that I trust them and that I need them to do their jobs. So hopefully in the end, I think, yes, it will be, next week there'll be a lot of wondering. And then after that, I've got to, put my money where my mouth is and do what I say I'm going to do. And that for me will take a lot of discipline.
I haven't taken off months, but I've screwed up and I wasn't paying enough attention to stuff. And I've told people, listen, this is all on me. I just want you to know going forward, here's what I figured out. And people feel good about it. And it shows that you've evolved and you took the time off and you rethought some things out. And you can absolutely turn it into a positive moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, I'm pretty open at work as well. So I would say, hey, if this is, tell me your concerns and let's, and then I would also ask people like, how do you want me to be? What did you miss? What did you miss? What do you need? And what do you not need?
Do you get honest answers to that question?
It's hard to know, but I can still ask. I mean, if I don't ask, I'm never going to know anything. So, I'll get the best answer that can be given. But I did ask my head of HR, I'm like, do you think I should come back? And she gave me a resounding yes. People, I have a certain energy in the office that I think people do appreciate, which is, I'm really proud of the whole operation. And so, a lot of, and for me, Jay, to your point, is I'm going to have to make sure that I'm communicating that on a regular basis.
All right. Last segment. I want to talk about another item that we ran recently in the morning report. It's about Microsoft and what they did to lessen their tax burden. I won't go through all the details, but essentially they shifted $39 billion in profits to Puerto Rico on the advice of their tax consultants. It allowed them
mention their name. I think that's important. What tax consultants?
KPMG.
Yeah, they should be ashamed of themselves.
They managed to get them basically a 0% tax rate. It went to litigation. There were emails that were released that showed people talking about this in terms of like a pure tax play, describing exactly what was happening here. I'm curious, as owners of smaller businesses, what do you think when you read a story like this? Jay, I got a sense you have a problem with it.
It's revolting, and I find it revolting that the accounting firm goes out there and is promoting this, and this. It's just wrong, and people are supposed to pay their taxes so that we can fix the bridges and help the needy and do whatever government's supposed to do. Like Microsoft doesn't make enough money; they've got to cheat on their taxes for God's sake. And Bill Gates needs more money so he can give away more money. The whole thing's just revolting. And as the small business owner who's dealing with raising our own taxes and the health insurance, it's really disheartening that these companies that we all give money to that make billions and billions of dollars can't just pay their taxes, and that these big accounting firms go ahead and conspire with them to do it. And I hope there's some backlash on them. I really do.
Mm-hmm. What I found was amazing about that article is that I hate to say it, but I kind of felt bad for the IRS. You think about it, it's like, wow, that's a real business too. And they actually need to have the right people on staff. They've had to hire law firms to help them fight this battle. And I just thought, wow, you just think they have unlimited resources, but they really don't. I mean, it's
not at all. And that's been a problem for several years.
Yeah. I mean, they can't fight Microsoft because they had budget cuts. And, so therefore they just sit and they watch it happen. And so in that, of course, makes me crazy because they have no problem calling me, but not that I'm not avoiding taxes, but, they seem to do a really good job of hassling the people who are, paying the least amount of taxes. But then, for the big guns where they can actually make a huge difference to the whole country, they can't do it. And that part I just found, God, that's depressing. That's just so, the injustice in that is incredible to me.
Yeah, the power dynamic just made me just shake my head. I think we're experiencing that a lot now in the world, in the country. Those who have the power can shift $39 billion to a territory, and the IRS is limited. If limited is being not even fair, but they can't even. What can they do, right? And so, but you let someone miss a payment on their $10,000 bill, and they're ready to, come after you. Or you take somebody like actors who have not paid their taxes due to poor money management, and it's $300,000, and they're seizing homes and cars and giving you jail time, right? So but guess what? That actor doesn't have the power of Microsoft. So it just is it's unfortunate that money, you can go after money, but the true wealth is power.
But where do you draw the line? I mean, nobody wants to pay more taxes than they're obligated to pay.
I think the line is definitely not no taxes. I think the fact that there's 0%, that's way beyond the line. But you don't want to set a company up, even though they can afford it. I'm not comfortable setting up Microsoft to be fleeced, right? Where they're paying so much money in taxes. So you're right. Where is the line? But I think with this case study that that's just wrong. They should not be able to do that.
It's not just Microsoft either. You read about this with Apple too. I mean, it seems like many of these companies do that. And where's the line? It's real simple. Most of their business isn't done in Puerto Rico, period. I mean, It's pretty black and white. I mean, this isn't even pushing it. This is just a sham that one of the big accounting firms is helping them do. And that's really disheartening.
And with that, we are out of time. Thank you all. My thanks to Karen Clark-Cole, Jay Goltz, and Dana White. Again, really appreciate your being willing to share the way you do. Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Remember, we started the 21 Hats podcast to help business owners feel a little less isolated, to let them know they aren't the only ones fighting these battles. If you got something out of this conversation, please help us reach more people. Tell a friend, subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at 21_hats. And let me know if you have a question or a comment or a topic you'd like us to cover. My email address is lfeldman@21hats.com. See you next time.